my name is Amanda and I'm the Education Coordinator here at the Pearl. Today we're going to be talking about turbidity. So here I am in the Patuxent River where they do the Senator Bernie Fowler annual wade-in. If you're unfamiliar with the wade-in, every year they wade into the water to see how far they can get and still see Bernie Fowler's iconic white sneakers. So a little history behind this. When Senator Fowler was a young man, he used to wade out into the Patuxent about chest deep and still be able to see his feet. When he became a senator, he noticed that the water clarity had decreased quite a bit. And when he started his first wade-in the 80s, he could only get to 10 inches of depth and still see his feet. Right now, I'm in about 10 inches of water, which is about halfway up my boot, which is not very deep. As time has gone on, they continue to do the annual wade-in, and last year, in 2019, they've been able to get to 47 inches. So I'm going to show you how far 47 inches is. So this is about as far as my waders will let me get, and this is about 47 inches deep. So this is a lot further than his original 10 inches. So Senator Fowler wasn't the first person to note how clear the water was. Back in 1676, Captain John Wood Jr. was sailing looking for the Northeast Passage. The Northeast Passage is the trade route between Europe and Asia without having to go around Africa. Well, while he was in the Arctic Ocean, near Russia, he noted in his logbooks that he could see 80 fathoms deep. 80 fathoms is over 1.5 football fields, which is really deep. Since then, sailors have been using any sorts of tools on the ship to measure water clarity. In general, a lot of them will use a white dinner plate, which will be tied to a rope and lowered into the ocean until they can no longer see it, at which point they'll record the depth of the plate. Now, we have different tools.
So in 1865, Pope Pius IX asked his scientific advisor, Father Angelo Sucky, to quantify water clarity in the Mediterranean Sea. While others have been doing this for centuries, Sucky standardized the procedure and, like any good scientist, published his results for the world to see. Sucky's original tool was a white disc, but 34 years later, George Whipple gave the Sucky disc its black and white design for use in freshwater. So why do we care what color a Sucky disc is? In theory, when we use a Sucky disc, we're looking at the contrast between the disc and its background. So a white disc works best when using it against a black background. In deep ocean waters, the depths may appear black, making the single-color white Sucky disc a good option for working in the open oceans. But when working in lakes, freshwater systems, or shallow waters, the background is not always totally black. Sometimes the light is reflected from the bottom of the lake or stream, or sometimes the light is scattered by particles. Adding black to the typically white disc helps add contrast and lets the user see it more clearly in these environments. Now, scientists are experimenting with different colors of Sucky discs for different environments. Some discs are all black, while others use different colors like yellow and red. Before we use our Sucky disc, you may be wondering, what are these lines on the rope? Well, when we lower our Sucky disc into the water, we want to measure how deep we can lower the Sucky disc and still see it. This is called the Sucky depth. To make it easier to measure, most scientists will put lines on their ropes to mark distances. On our rope, there are red and black marks every 20 centimeters. Today we're going to test our Sucky disc off the Pearl Dock on St. Leonard Creek, which feeds into the Patuxent River. I'm going to slowly lower the Sucky disc into the water until we reach the Sucky depth. We're at the point where we can no longer see our Sucky disc, so I'm going to pull it out of the water, making sure to note the length of the rope from our Sucky disc to the surface of the water. If we count the intervals on our rope, we can find out our Sucky depth. Because our intervals are about 20 centimeters apart, and we measured 8 intervals, our Sucky depth is about 160 centimeters. So let's talk about what we're looking at. So why could Captain Wood see so far into the water column and Bernie Fowler couldn't? Why can't we see through the water when we walk into the water at the beach or in a river? What's in the water that blocks our view? So depending on the region, small pieces of sediment or dirt, plankton, or other tiny particles of plant or animal matter may be present in the water. To measure this, we use a parameter called turbidity, which is another word for the measurement of the total suspended solids in water. If we have higher turbidity, that means our water has a lot of sediment, plankton, or other small particles. This could be natural or could be influenced by human interactions with the watershed. As technology advances, we've developed new tools to more accurately quantify water clarity. So why are we still using a Sucky disk? Well, we have over 100 years of historical data that use tools like the Sucky disk, and by using a Sucky disk alongside our modern technology, we can compare our modern measurements with those of the past.
Thank you for joining us this time as we talked about turbidity and different ways of measuring it. Check back soon for more videos.